What would an acceptable way for a guy to make a comeback after ghosting? Are there any valid reasons for ghosting even? Interesting question. Matt, what do you think about that?
Well, it depends on what you mean by ghosting,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
that's the big question that I have for
Right.
you right now. Because a lot ghosting means a different thing to like every woman that I talk to, right? Some
Hmm.
women think that a guy ghosts because he doesn't talk to her for a day. Some
Yeah.
women think that a guy ghosts. Really the definition for ghosting for me is that a guy doesn't talk to you and then never talks to you again. So if the guy's talking to you again and making a comeback, he probably didn't ghost you. I mean, it's possible that maybe he like stopped talking to you for a few months or something like that. And in that case, you want to question the entire thing, right? And if he wants to make a comeback, he needs to earn it, right? He needs to earn
Mm.
your time and attention. And so you want him to make it up to you. And my suggestion is you start by setting that frame, right? Setting the
Mhm.
precedent and letting him know that he needs to earn it with you. And so if a guy
Ooh, love
starts
that.
messaging you, right, and you haven't talked to him, let's say, and let's actually think about it in terms of like it was actually ghosting. And let's say that he hasn't talked to you in like 3 weeks or a month or more than that. If a guy hasn't talked to you in that long, and my suggestion is that you first start out being like, hey, like hey stranger, where you been? Right? And just calling, because you're calling out that behavior. That's where you want to start, is calling out the behavior that he disappeared and you haven't talked to him in a while, right? And he'll probably be like, oh, sorry, I was busy doing this, right? First is that he needs to have an excuse, right? If he ignores your question about that and tries to continue talking to you, my suggestion is that you don't continue talking to him until he gives you some kind of legitimate excuse for why he hasn't talked to you. And ideally, that also has an
Mm.
apology attached to it. And then the second thing is that I suggest you say is here's exactly what you say is, how are you going to make it up to me? Say
Oh,
that
wow.
to a guy, right? Which is it's a strong question, right? It's a really strong question because you're basically like you got to make this up to me, right? But it can be playful, right? Do how are you going to make it up to me, and then do like a winky face at him, right? That way it's not like serious, like you're gonna have to like buy me groceries and bring my milk and like fix my car or something like that. Although he could if he wants to, but it could be anything, right? He could just do something small, but you want to set the frame, set the precedent that he needs to earn you back, that he
Mhm.
needs to put effort and energy into getting you back into his life. That's my suggestion. You want him to do things to earn you back, take you out on dates, come and see you, if you guys were intimate before, pick you up. If you weren't intimate before, if you weren't intimate before, I want to make this very, very clear. If you weren't intimate, don't have him show up at your house,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Don't do that. Okay? First dates shouldn't be at your house. They shouldn't be at his house. They shouldn't be at anybody's house, right? You should be meeting at, right now it could be at a park, it could be at a cafe, depending on where it is that you live, could be at a restaurant, should be somewhere in public,
Mhm.
right? Where you guys have a conversation. If you go to somebody's house, there is an implied kind of thing that there's something intimate, physically intimate, that's going to happen at this person's place. And so I'm kind of running off on a tangent, so I'm going to stop now. But I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. That was the perfect answer. Never heard anyone talk about it like that. I want to make that its own video because that is huge, right? Like what to do when a guy who was ghosting comes back. So good.